You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file.
That doesn't sound too hard.
Boom! This is Making Tracks.
This is the way.
Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
I know these people. They are brutal. Does this look Jedi to you?
That's not how the Force works.
They'll never see it coming.
Count me in.
Mr. Back.
You're listening to Making Tracks and our second episode from Galaxypalooza, which took place on the 6th of June in Rayleigh in Essex. This episode we continue my chat with David Whiteley as we talk about the UK Star Wars experience on stage at the show. So here's myself and David.
A lot of the guys you spoke to presumably had the chance to see the documentary. What did they make of it? Because it's always through the lens of somebody else's eyes, if that makes sense. Yeah. In this case, yours. So were they pleased with what came out the other end?
Well, I'm pleased. But I mean, I think for me and my friend Matt, who I made it with, the thing we were most terrified of was the fans, because
as always,
because we're all fans, aren't we? And I was thinking, I really want to make sure that we get this right, and B, make sure that it's as accurate as we can make it, and everyone sort of enjoys it. And we didn't want to make it about us; it had to be totally about them. And I think we made it for them. Sadly, John Mollo never got to see it. I mean, he passed away before. John was the costume designer. Oscar-winning. He did Star Wars and Alien and Gandhi and the TV series Sharp and all these wonderful things. And he never got to see it. He was quite ill when we saw him. So we were very lucky to kind of get him. And he pulled out all his original 1975, embryonic sketches of the... You've seen them, James. And you can see the progression of all the different things. And there was a very tiny Chewbacca in there. Yeah. We thought, well, that'd be my height, like an Ewok height, as opposed to actually Chewbacca. But yeah, it was... they were... I think they were all very humble at the time. They almost didn't quite understand why we wanted to kind of shine the spotlight on them, really. And I'm glad we did.
I'm glad you did. We're glad you did. You've now become the guy that puts the spotlight on the British experience, I would say. If you picked somebody as the guy that's put that as a focus, your name definitely comes up in that. So after you did that first documentary, other documentaries followed. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, someone said to me, do you think we should... So that was a 90-minute doc. We went back and we remade it, made a 90-minute doc, and it nearly killed us, and I hated Star Wars for about a year. And then I kind of... And in fact, my youngest daughter, I said to her, well, what do you think Daddy does for a living? She said, well, you work for the BBC and you make Star Wars. Because it was my obsession for such a long time to kind of get it done and to get it out there. And then we did that, and then they wanted to do a double bill on BBC 4. Because someone said to me, would you be interested in doing a documentary about Palatoy, Star Wars? And I thought, who's going to care about that? No, yes, I would. I'd love to do a documentary about Palatoy. And I thought, well, no one's going to really give a monkeys. And of course, we started talking about it, and people said, well, actually, yeah, they're all still around. And so we went to Colville, to Leicestershire, to see Bob Breakin and a load of the guys that worked on Star Wars. I thought, is it that good a story? And it kind of parallels George's story, getting stuff off the ground, because no one realised Star Wars was going to be so ridiculously successful that nothing was ready, as we know.
It was all paper products, wasn't
it? It was it, wasn't it? I mean, it was anything. And this never made the documentary, but Peter Beale was talking about how they were trying to license anything and everything just to get some money coming in off the back of Star Wars. So the fact that these toys were so delayed, and we all know they had the early bird certificate, so you got the promise of 4 figures later on at Easter. So Palatoy were very much trying to pump these things out, and they were doing really badly. They weren't doing particularly well at that point, and the Action Man was doing pretty well. But then they said, well, let's try Star Wars. And they said, oh, no, it's never going to take off. And other parts of the company, other toy divisions were offered it, and they all turned it down. And the guy that ran it, who's no longer around, he said that they said another part of the company wanted to take Aquaman. Instead, they say, "We'll take Aquaman. You have Star Wars," and so the rest is history. They took Palatoy took Star Wars. It didn't do very well for Action Man because then everyone started to move on to to Star Wars because Action Man was a much bigger figure, took a lot more production, and the Star Wars figures did incredibly well.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You did a book to accompany the first documentary. Just tell me a little bit about that because again, these are all labours of love. But a book and a documentary are two very different things.
If anyone's ever written a book, they'll know that actually you don't make much money from it. I think I've given more away. I do have some here. They're really good if you want to level a table off at home or anything like that, or a chair. They're great kindling to get a fire going.
Okay, good to know.
Especially on a day like today, we think it's supposed to be the summer. I just wondered whether I'd do a book, and I got a publisher in America to kind of agree. In fact, funny enough, no British publisher would. But the American publisher did, and I got given access to Robert's private collection of photographs and Les Dilly's ones as well. So they're all in the book, which is great. They gave me permission to use those. Sadly, neither of them are with us anymore. So I just basically took more of what the story was from the documentary and turned it into the book. But as I say, that was a labour of love, it's a great book. Obviously, not. No, it's fine.
So books aren't for documentarians. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I remember when I was writing, my wife said, "How's your pamphlet coming along?" Because I wasn't sure there were many words, but there are lots of pictures in it. But it was something I just felt that was nice to kind of accompany the thing and just to do it really. And Robert, bless him, he wrote the foreword for the book as well. So that was nice. But yes, it was nice to have had a book, you know. As I said, I've given more away, Mark, than I've told.
What are you working on now? What's going on these days?
Well, I kind of hoped I was done with it all. But just when you think you're out, they pull you back in, right? So when the Galaxy Britain Built went out and you know, we had all this, you know, Mark Hamill tweeted about it and loved it, and this was stuff that I never thought would happen. And I got it to certain people, and I think George has seen it. I don't know for definite, but I think he has. When you hear about that, and what was lovely is the reaction from the fans, and the reviews were great. So I kind of thought, well, I've done it now, and I don't want to do any more. And then somebody contacted me from a company called Elstree Precision, and they make components basically for the aeronautical industry, and they do very well. It's quite a boring thing, but it's precision, and it's stuff that goes into space and into satellites.
Oh, but really boring. Then.
Really boring. Yeah, really boring. Maybe SpaceX. But anyway, in the 70s, they were approached by the production team at Lucasfilm when they were down the road to make some components for R2-D2, C-3PO, Darth Vader, stuff that they couldn't actually make. Some, the engaging arm that goes into the computer in the Death Star from R2-D2, all that kind of stuff. Knee joints, shoulder, or stuff that was really special that kind of finishes off the look of these characters. So they went to them, made a load of stuff, and they said, "Do you want to be credited in the film?" "No. We don't want to ruin our reputation," said Elstree Precision. They said, "This is a silly film. We don't want anything to do with it. We don't want to know." So they're uncredited in the first Star Wars. Then they went back to them when they were making Boba Fett, and they said, "We really want to do another character." So they helped them make Boba Fett as well. Loads of interesting things. And I thought, well, I've never heard this story before. So I interviewed Robert about it. I interviewed Paul Bateman, who was great friends with Ralph McQuarrie and looked after his archive for a while. So we talked about the concept art and everything. And I stupidly started filming it. So I got laid off from the Beeb during COVID. It was the time when they shut my program down. And with my redundancy money, instead of thinking I'll save that because I need to eat and pay the mortgage and look after my children, I'll spend it on some Star Wars documentaries instead. So it's been languishing on a hard drive for quite some time now. We got the last interview with Robert, and we're going to call it Elstree Strikes Back because they're remaking it all again. So on ITV, I work for ITV now, so it'll be on ITVX in December, I'm afraid. So it's my third and final one. You'll be pleased to know there's no more after that.
I'm Derek Arnold, and I get my news from Fantha Tracks.
You say final though, but because you're sort of trawling, I was going to say trawling, that's not the right word.
No, I'm definitely like a bottom feeder, Mark. I'm just trawling, yeah.
There you go. You're working your way through all these things. You're coming across interviews, and little kernels of knowledge are coming to you that make you go, well, I didn't know that, or I didn't know. You've got that inquisitive mind. You say it's your last one, but
you know what it's like, Mark. I mean, you know, this man is, you know, I think we should give Mark a big round of applause as well, because what he does for Star Wars, just give him a round of applause, because no one ever thanks this man. He's done so much for Star Wars with Fantha Tracks and the wonderful, sadly now no longer with us, Star Wars Insider. This man, he works round the clock. I think they must have cloned him, just like a clone trooper. He's been cloned. But you know, it is, and you hear of things, you know, and these fabulous podcasts, and you think, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So I just felt that it was the last. Well, there are always new pieces of the puzzle, aren't there? I've just realised that looks like a white version of the Death Star droid that injects Princess Leia over your head there. Have you seen that? That's going to come down in a minute. Just be careful. Be on your best behaviour in the front there. Just you see Star Wars everywhere. So I think that, you know, if you think no one's told the story, then maybe you should. And I think that just gives them their credit. And they're remaking everything, which is great.
Absolutely. I don't know how much longer we've got.
I've probably bored everyone to tears.
5 minutes, right, that's 5 minutes. There's a microphone over there. If anybody wants to ask a question, not of me, of David, now's your chance. So, questions for... There we go. We didn't get left hanging. That's good, isn't it?
That's good. I probably owe him money.
Is this mic still on?
Yeah, I probably owe this gentleman money.
Right.
Congratulations on the doc, and the book is... I know you've downplayed it, but it is fantastic.
That's very kind, thank you.
My question...
The cheque cleared, obviously, that's good.
Well done.
I do a lot of interviews and of people who have done things not so far away as some of, you know, been there 50 years for Star Wars. I find that people's recollections of things may not be 100% about what happened at the time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, or have you come across some occasions where maybe someone's recollections of an event doesn't quite tally with how things probably work out?
That's a really good question. There was one. So you know, I mentioned that Robert Watts said he got Elstree Studios for £75,000. Gary Kurtz got Elstree Studios for £75,000, and so did Peter Beale from 20th Century Fox. And I thought, who told it better? So
there's somebody at Fox who's got $210,000. He's the happiest man in the world. That's what
because he's got all the money. It's very hard, isn't it? Because you're right. It's a bit like, as I said earlier, interviewing those Spitfire pilots, and it's a long time ago, a very long time ago. 50 years, and they were making it in the mid 70s, and 76 filming. So the recollections are hazy. You've come across this obviously on many an occasion. You just have to take their word for it. I suppose it's their word, isn't it? And if they say they did it, you have to believe them. I mean, there's no other way of going back in time and checking that. But it's a bit like any interview you do with any subject. I mean, I've done thousands of interviews over my lifetime, and you have to just take people on face value. So maybe there's a little bit of bending of the truth, but who cares? Who cares?
It's Harrison Ford says that, doesn't he? It makes a good story. You tell it on a chat show.
Story. I've heard the story so many times from dearly departed Robert, how he suddenly decided they needed Harrison Ford in Finse in Norway for some shots, and he was in London, and they flew him out, and he sent down a bottle of whiskey to meet Harrison. And by the time he got to the top, I think he'd had the whole bottle. But that's Robert's version of it. Harrison might not remember that at all, or say that never happened. They probably did. But anyway, so there are all these great little anecdotes and stories that you hope are true, because you think, wow, it just all adds to it, doesn't it? And I love the idea of this kind of band of people coming together, the Brits and the Americans working together to try and make the thing that all now brings us together, and they've created friendships out of.
100%. We've got time for one more question. If anybody, here we go. Everyone's watching, don't worry.
First off, I want to say your documentary and book are just amazing, and
this is costing me a lot of money today. This is gonna, thank you very much. It's very kind.
But through making them, when you now watch the Star Wars movies, do you still see them in the same way? Are there bits that you now pick out more?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I do actually. Thank you. I do. I think it's with anything like this, when you peel back the layers of things and you know what went into it as well. I think that you kind of, but I can still enjoy Star Wars for what it is. I think you kind of just, you switch off, and 2 or 3 times a year you'll sit down and watch it, and just enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, you do also think about the endeavours that they had to do, and I think that was. My wife had never seen Star Wars, would you believe it? And I know.
She's still your wife?
The divorce papers are going through now. But the thing that I think that if you don't like it, well, you just respect what they did, and I think it's just that was what I wanted to kind of encapsulate. Really, was just their dedication to it, and just as having the pride, not understanding it, not really, some of them not even caring about it, but knowing that they were making something really special and tangible, and giving it their best shot, really. And I think that's what you know. And as I say, 4 of them have passed away since we made it, and you know, thankfully we got their stories.
That's it. It's Star Wars history. You've added to Star Wars history.
Well, so do you. Thank you.
Well, this has been magic for me. I've really enjoyed this. Go a big round of applause for David, please.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
The first panel saw James Burns and Graham Hancock talk about Lego Star Wars, the history of the brand, and of course Blocks magazine. And after the panel, I took the chance to catch up with Graham for a very enjoyable chat, which you can hear right now. So we're here at Galaxypalooza. I'm here with Graham. How are you? How's the day going so far?
It's awesome, Mark. It's been such a good day. Like, I'm usually chained to my desk working on Blocks magazine, a monthly magazine for Lego fans, but today I actually get to come out and talk to other people who are as nerdy about Lego as I am. So yeah, it's always fun to do it.
Is it nice to be out in the world? I mean, you're representing the magazine, we're stood in front of your table and there's people all around it, so plenty of interest. But is it nice to get out there and
honestly,
and
yeah, because you're so in isolation when you're working on these magazines and books at home. You know, but when you actually come out and talk to people and hear what they like about them, hear what they, you know, how they react to them, it's just a whole different thing. And you can tell people about your favourite Lego Star Wars sets, hear about their favourite Lego Star Wars sets, sign some books today, sign some magazines, so that's always good fun. Because, it's such a labour of love to work on this, and to know that people appreciate it and enjoy it, it's such a treat.
What's the current mood around Lego Star Wars at the moment? You know, we're heading towards the 50th. We've just had Mando and Grogu. There's always a lot going on, but you know, what's the tone? What do you sense the tone is right now? Expectation or excitement? Or
I think everyone is super busy building at the minute, because it's just been such an amazing year for Lego Star Wars. Like, it kicked off with Smart Play back in January, so these new technology-infused Lego bricks. And to be honest, they've kind of split the fan base, or certainly the adult fan base, because there's a lot of people who don't quite see the value in it, which is a completely fair perspective, because they're not display models, they're not your super detailed UCS sets. But then recently we've had all of the Mandalorian and Grogu sets and the Ultimate Collector Series M1 Starfighter.
Yes.
So there's loads of nice stuff for kind of hardcore long-term fans to sink their teeth into. So I think everyone's kind of moved past the Smart Play conversation now, and we're just into Anzellan starships and Razor Crests and all this good stuff. And the Anzellan starship is like the sleeper hit of the recent sets. It's such a good model. It's like really nice on display, but really good for building and playing with as well.
What do you think, you know, now you say they've got all these different sort of, waggle the air quotes, expressions, various types, the more adult types, the different versions that you can get right down to the kids stuff. Do you think it's, I mean, any fan can have an opinion, any fan can have a grumble, but there really is a massive scope of stuff to get if you want to be a Star Wars Lego fan.
It's absolutely wild. Every time I think, okay, there's the maximum number of different types of Lego Star Wars set available now, something else crops up. Like soon there's an upscale Darth Vader minifigure coming out.
Yes.
So you're going to be able to build a massive Darth Vader minifigure. Now, that is something I did not think we'd see in the Lego Star Wars theme, but I'm so excited for it. That's going to be such a fun set to build. And so this year we launched our Lego Star Wars Special Edition magazine that people can get at blocksmag.com. And I just can't believe how well the timing's worked out, because there's all these different expressions coming up, like this minifigure, like the Yoda and Darth Vader busts that have come out.
Yes.
There's just all different ways. I think what it demonstrates is that we always picture a Lego Star Wars set as minifigures that you put in a ship or a vehicle or a location.
Yeah.
And that's what we picture in our mind's eye as a Lego set. But what Lego Star Wars is demonstrating is with Lego bricks, you can do it in so many different ways. And it's quite nice because that is the whole essence of the Lego system. So it's reminding us, take these things apart, do something different with them, because whatever you kind of picture in your head, you can do it out of Lego bricks if you spend enough time and stare at them hard enough.
That's a great point. I suppose for you, doing blocks and doing the magazine, when these new things come along, like not that many years ago, Brickheads came along, for example, something new to talk about, something new to get people excited about. As an editor and a writer, that must be fun as well.
Oh, definitely, because that's, it's always interesting hearing from the Lego Star Wars designers what they're working on, how they do what they do. But it's especially interesting when they try a new expression or something, because of course they've got new things to say, they've taken a new approach to it, they've done a whole new kind of thinking that maybe they don't usually have to do. Like if a Lego Star Wars designer is working on a typical spaceship set, they've got a certain methodology that they work through. Yeah, when they introduced, say, the diorama collection a couple of years ago, they had to rethink the whole concept of what is a Lego scene, how do we do it in a different way, how do we do it for adults where we don't necessarily need play features and things, how do we give them a consistent design style, and you get into this whole other conversation, this whole kind of nerdy detail that is just fascinating and just kind of keeps me into working on the magazine and always engaged with it.
That's really interesting you say that. I suppose as you're saying that out loud, I'm not considered that you might give a bucket of bricks to do 2 or 3 different designers and say, give me Geonosis, and you'll get 3 completely different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they do come up with something new like the diorama collection, that's what they did. They just built tons and tons of models and looked at how these things turned out, and we're like, okay, which of these directions is going to work? And then once they'd all kind of agreed on a cohesive style, then they can start to adjust things and have a similar framework. But then still, you can tell when different people have worked on different sets. So for example, the Ultimate Collector Series M1 Starfighter that just came out, Cesar Suarez, who works on that, he always loves doing system bricks as opposed to the more complicated Technic bricks. So almost that entire model is built with system bricks, whereas another designer like Henrik Anderson might put a Technic frame inside it and then build the system bricks around that.
Wow.
So once you kind of know some of the people involved in it and things, and the people we talk to in Blocks magazine, you kind of hear from, you start to spot their traits in the sets that you're actually building. And it's, in the same way you might with the director of a film or something, you know some of their visual cues and things.
I'd never even considered that, but I guess you're right. There are various types of bricks, various ways of building things. When you get to the granular level of that somebody like me would never even think to ask the question, but there's these little signature sort of styles in there.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I never thought about when I started working in the Lego world, but over the years, you just become more and more aware of these things, and you do get more into the sort of granular detail of how these things happen. And you sort of, again, when you talk to people multiple times, you start to pick up the things that they're passionate about and understand the way they approach things. And it's just such a treat to kind of get to delve into this world and sort of keep focused on Lego Star Wars.
You did a great panel earlier with James and talking about blocks and about Lego in general, what's coming up, what's happening at the moment. You said that if somebody asked you, I think one of the audience members asked you what your favourite set was, and you said, oh, well, it's different every time, but right now I'll say, I think you said Wicket.
Yeah, Wicket the Ewok. We've got him here with us on the table.
You have,
guarding the magazines. And
he is fantastic.
Yeah, my friend Jamie Wheeler designed this set, and he is a super talented guy. Like, his ability with Lego bricks is to an incredibly high standard. He's really, really talented. And Wicket is just such a fun build because he's technically very clever.
Yeah.
The way it captures the look of the character. You've got some really funky techniques going on inside to capture his face in that way. But then once you build him, he just looks fun on display. He just looks as if he's about to come to life and start waddling through the forest. And he just makes me smile. You're getting frustrated at your desk. There's a deadline, and you can't.
There's always a deadline, Graham.
Exactly. And but then you look at Wicket and you can't help but smile, and it cheers you up.
It's funny, when you mentioned it, I couldn't picture it in the moment when you said. Now looking at him, I'm like, I a million percent can totally see it.
He's not like technically the best Lego set of last year, but he's my favourite Lego set of last year.
I totally get it. And he does, like you say, he looks absolutely stunning on the desk. What's exciting you right now?
I think I mentioned it, but the Anzellan Starfighter from the Mandalorian and Grogu range is really good. The Razor Crest is really good. The Lego group had done the Razor Crest a few times already, but the proportions of this new one are absolutely phenomenal. Like the size of the engines in relation to the main body of the ship is really impressive, and I think if you don't have the previous Razor Crests, this is a really good one that you're going to be really satisfied with. And of course, I'm still on a real high because we've got the Lego Star Wars special magazine out, like 132 pages, all Star Wars, really nice interviewees like Ashley Eckstein, Anthony Daniels, Bobby Moynihan, Lego Star Wars designers, all sorts of great people. And I'm just so proud of how it turned out and so glad that everyone's really getting a kick out of it.
And where can people find that magazine?
That is available at blocksmag.com, Mark.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Always appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Really enjoyed it.
Hi, this is Kevin Cornwall, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Finally, for this episode and for our 2026 coverage of Galaxypalooza, myself and Matt Hudson caught up in the green room at Galaxypalooza as the show was almost at an end. So here's me and Matt talking all things Galaxypalooza.
I'll say, as a punter coming in, it was busy when I got here. And it was before 10 o'clock when you opened to the general public. You had done an early bird thing, and it was packed. The panels, everyone I've been to has been chock-a-block. Like I say, I did the David Whiteley panel. David's easy.
Best panel of the day.
Of course. A couple of questions, he can just talk. Jan Miles was, what a treat. What a treat that panel was.
Fantastic. And I'll say it on the show as well, because I've said it to everyone. We had Robert Frost, editor, who compared and hosted the panel. He introduced himself as an editor. He's a BAFTA award-winning editor. Right. So he just wanted to get that out there again because he won't say it. No. Too modest. So we had Robert interviewing Jan, two people who are exceptionally good at what they do, talking about one of the best TV series ever made, but more so in a way that wasn't just, tell us about editing.
Sure.
What did you do there? It was in-depth, it was informative, engaging, and actually all of the panels have been that. We've had Dr. Chris Kempshall, who was interviewed by Dr. Sam Thomas, who came down from the Uni of Newcastle. And again, it was a history of Star Wars, history and Star Wars. So rather than just being, tell me about the process of writing a book, what you're a historian, what's the parallels? A really interesting deep dive into the parallels of history and Star Wars. And Chris was able to talk about his new book coming out at the end of the year, Star Pilots, which I know we're all very excited for.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's been refreshing, as I say, because Fantha and me do a lot of shows, and they're all fun and they're all done with love. Well, most of them are done for love. Some of them are done for profit, but a lot of them are done for love, and that's fair enough. I love of money. It worked for Han Solo. So here we are doing this, and to look at the dealer's room. That so judiciously chosen, the people you've picked, the way that it's all laid out, brilliant. It's you've mixed in the artists with the vendors, and that's not something you see often, and that's been refreshing. You've got people who specifically know the topics of the people that they're talking to. Again, that's not usually a thing that you see. It's generally somebody like me will go up and interview 10 people about different stuff. But you've got different kinds of guests, so it's been really interesting to pair those things. What I'm getting at is the thoughtfulness is appreciated by the fandom.
I appreciate it as well. It's been a long road. We've had an excellent team helping us along the way, covering like experts in every area, because we don't know everything. We don't know how to run a convention without people behind us and the team. And it's those kind of ideas where people like yourself, we've been to so many conventions, and somebody will say, "Well, have you thought about doing this?"
Yeah.
No. Should we? We'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And in terms of the curation of the vendors, we've tried to support as many local businesses as possible, and ones that we know are quality. Now, I know it's a bit of a kind of buzz statement to say that, we buy it, therefore we trust it, therefore we're happy for other people to. But we didn't want just any kind of visual vernacular. We wanted to make it look like it's premium. It might be our first one, but we're not the ones paying for tickets, if that makes sense. Like, we've got the punters coming in; they're the ones who are paying. Yeah. If they come in and immediately think this doesn't look great, it's not the best experience I'm getting. And I'm not sitting here saying we're experts, we've nailed it. But I feel like from that side of it, from a production point of view, it's gone very well, and that's what we wanted.
Yeah. Even things, I don't know, it's something you guys are proud of. I'm waggling the ticket. I have an adult weekend ticket, the blue one, and it's gorgeous. But there's tickets for all the various levels. You've got the purple one, there you go, the crew one. So there's different tickets. It's very much of a celebration vibe. You've got posters everywhere. There's flyers. You've got those lovely pins made.
Collectors Guild pins.
Totally.
Fantastic.
Totally. So it's just the little details that others might not look at, but you've picked on. And
But it's what we want as well from a con, like genuinely. Like when we go to conventions, like whether it's Celebration or a local one in the village hall, if there's that attention to detail, you know it as well. You appreciate that more. It's what you remember. Or we wanted it to feel slightly different from other ones. And that's not to put anybody else down. It's more just what can we do to differentiate ourselves rather than just being another voice in the crowd or face in the crowd. And it was those little details.
Exactly that. And now you've done. I mean, like I say, we're still going. It's 3:00, so it's still going. But now you're in the home straight. Let's say it that way. You're in the home straight. You're probably already thinking, right, it's 50th anniversary next year. What are we going to do for June 2027? You know. You've set your stall now. People will come to that next show knowing that they're going to have a cracking afternoon.
That was the plan. Yeah.
You know, doesn't matter about the weather outside. A bit rainy, doesn't matter. It's bringing people in. You're in a great location as well, right on the edge of town. So that's certainly pulling people in. Got all the costumers out there handing out flyers. So all of that has just conspired in the best way to give people like us a really good day. So you must be hopeful now, looking forward for
definitely. And not to blow smoke on that, but you know, somebody like yourself, we respect you and everyone at Fantha and affiliated outlets, but we know you go to a lot of conventions, and we always said that if we can get people along, whether it's guests or vendors, that people like Mark, or we, for example, would say Booker, Matt Booker, who they'd look at and think, oh, that's interesting, because I haven't seen it that often. That was also our vibe. It's to make it accessible, but give people something which is actually enjoyable, but also what do we want to see? Because we've been to lots of conventions and some have been great, some have been okay, and it's just taking the best of those and the lessons from that, and then now we've done this one, is how can we take the pros and the cons and then move to next year, because we'd love to do another one. Obviously it's always dependent on how this one does,
of course,
and whether Luke survives the rest of the day in the after party, but you know, we're already thinking about that next year. But I'm also quite looking forward to deflating and talking about, okay, what can we do better next year? Because it's gone okay so far, but why rest on what you've got? But we wanted to come out with, like you mentioned, the artwork and that kind of attention to detail. We wanted to start like that for exactly what you've just said. So people won't come to the first one and think, wasn't great, therefore, well, I'm not going to go to next year's one when it's advertised. If you can set your stall out early, people will hopefully come back. I hope they do. I really hope they do.
I'll be here.
The venue does as well.
The venue's been brilliant. The staff have been brilliant. They're clearly enjoying it.
They are.
It's just a great vibe. The whole thing all around, it's a great vibe. I think any convention is what you make of it. But I think if you don't have a good time at this one, it's kind of on you. There's some events you go to where it's 50-50. This isn't 50-50. This is just a good show all round. So. Congratulations, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think I'll give you that tenner later, Mark.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that.
Email radio@fanthatracks.com. Head to links.fanthatracks.com for links to our social media feeds, Fantha Tracks TV and Fantha Tracks Radio. Thanks to James Semple for the Fantha Tracks intro, Blues Harvest for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. New episodes drop Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 o'clock UK time. Our weekly news show Good Morning Tatooine goes live Sundays at 9 o'clock UK time on Facebook and YouTube. And remember, Fantha Tracks is absolutely free, so it costs nothing to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.
I've got a few books if you want to prop up a table at all, so let me know.